So visit us today at cfchenderson.com. That's cfchenderson.com. Or call them at 702-747-7770. That's 747-7770.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
Liberalism is back in style. Welcome to the evolution.
What if you knew Fox News was just lying to you? How could you watch when you know?
He was voted Variety Entertainer of the Year at the Excellence in the Arts Award. And is one of the highest Arbitron, now Nielsen-rated talk radio hosts in Las Vegas. He is also a refreshing voice of logic and reason. Live from the entertainment capital of the world, Doug Basham.
And good morning, my fellow wokes and Republican jokes. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Doug Basham, and welcome to the Doug Basham Show right here on KSHP in Las Vegas and on social media, and to a genuine demonstration of excellence in broadcasting. Hey everybody, great to see you all again. I am Doug Basham, card-carrying member of the Enemy Within Brigade, also known as one sick, radical leftist lunatic who needs to be handled by the American military. My website is DougBasham.com, last name spelled B as in Bob, A-S-H-A-M as in Mary, DougBasham.com, my email, Doug@DougBasham.com. That said, I extend a hearty welcome to those of you listening on KSHP, AM 1400 and 107.1 FM on your radio dial here in Las Vegas. We are also broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, and of course, Twitter/X, now owned and operated by the biggest and most childish troll in Twitter/X's history. Now, if you go to my website, again, DougBasham.com, you will discover it's all of one page. At the top, you'll find the show's logo. Underneath, 10 links, most to my social media sites, also one to contact me via email. The two links I would like to call your attention to the most are, 1, my YouTube page, and 2, my TikTok page. On my YouTube page, I would respectfully ask you hit the subscribe button. On TikTok, please hit the red follow button. And hey, if you would like to watch the show live and not just listen to it, reason being, when I play clips, I don't play audio clips, I play video clips. From my website, you can go to either my YouTube page or maybe better yet, my Facebook or Twitter pages, whereupon you can indeed watch the show live. And the reason I say maybe better to watch the show on either Twitter or Facebook is you never know when YouTube will interrupt my channel for what they call policy violations and then show a black, soundless screen for 5 minutes or so. That doesn't happen on Facebook or Twitter. And by the way, I remind you, watching this show live will also remove any doubt whatsoever why so many people have said over the years that this is a face for television. 221-7283 is our call-in number here at the station, folks. If you would like to talk on the radio somewhere in our second half hour together, that's 702-221-SAVE, as in save our democracy, which is our ultimate and only goal in each and every show we do. And as the venerable Joy Behar said recently on The View,
I mean, he's cost a lot. I think we should lock him up now.
Well, some
just 11 days to go, folks. 11 days. And like we have heard so many people say of late, it is crunch time, and it is crunch time now. If you haven't yet voted, please make your plans to do so. And before you do vote, ask yourself one question. How much respect, love, and reverence do you have for this grand American experiment in democracy? And if you answer positively, there is only one choice in this election. There is only one choice. And as I've said till I'm blue in the face, we can discuss and even fight over policy later, but we need to save our very way of life first. Today's right-wing propaganda hate media has told their brainwashed audience for decades that if a Democrat is elected president, the country is lost. And of course, that has never, ever been true, not even close, the exact opposite. If your main thing is the economy, historically, the economy has always done better under Democrats. For 8 years, that same right-wing media told their audience how awful Barack Obama's economy was, when empirical evidence showed the exact opposite to be true. And even many on the right who did very well under Obama economically, they still complained that the economy was just atrocious. It's never been true, and yet they keep vomiting up the same dog's breakfast every presidential election. So, if you are tired of being lied to, or even if you're tired of your fellow American citizens being lied to, and most importantly, if you are fond of the grand American experiment, you know for whom you need to vote. And on that note, let's get to our breaking news for the day. Two quick things. First, the low-energy blob father was in Nevada yesterday, and as you might expect, he lied, he trashed America, he lied some more, and then doubled down on his fascist enemy from within rhetoric.
Kamala Harris does not have the compassion, the intelligence, or the strength the presidency needs. I know what it needs. You meet some people. Among the worst that you're going to meet, though, are in our country. I call it the enemy from within. She can't do the job. She can't put two sentences together. She's an international joke. Every country is joking about how stupid our leadership is, from Biden to Kamala. They're a joke all over the world. She's going to end up getting us into World War III, just like he would if he stayed any longer.
Jesus, low energy or what? Just like he would have if he stayed any longer. I call him the enemy from within. But yeah, General John Kelly is just way off, isn't he? And you know, I ask myself every day, how much longer do we have to wait for the stroke that will save mankind? Meanwhile, Trump's fellow racist and certified right-wing whack job and disgraced former Fox News host, that Mother Tucker Carlson, was campaigning for Trump in Georgia and somehow thought this cemented the case for voting for Trump.
If you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room, and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table, if you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're going to get more of it. And those kids are going to wind up in rehab. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them. No. There has to be a point at which dad comes home. Yeah, that's right. Dad comes home. And he's pissed. Dad is pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children, they live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's gonna have to let them know. He's gonna have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. And you earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl. And it has to be this way. It has to be this way because it's true. And you're only gonna get better when you take responsibility for what you did. That's not said in the spirit of hate. It's not said in the spirit of vengeance or bigotry. Far from it. It's said in the spirit of justice, which is the purest and best thing there is. And without it, things fall apart.
What in the holy fresh hell did we just witness? First, that redefined the term creepy. Second, Carlson enjoyed that way too much. Third, that just reeked of both authoritarianism, vengeance, and frankly, sadism. Fourth, how sick and twisted and broken a human being do you have to be to listen to what you just heard and not only applaud it, but believe that somehow reaffirms your decision to vote for Donald Trump? Seriously, Carlson is making a metaphor between Trump, first being the authoritarian father of this country, and then Trump as the father punishing this country because it misbehaved. It gave him the middle finger. It didn't do what its father demanded it do. Trump spanking this country for daring to disobey dear old dad and not follow his rules. Not the Constitution's rules, but dad's rules. Oh, and spanking it hard. And did you notice he referenced a little girl, not a little boy? But spank it hard. And if Carlson's drooling, and I suspect bulge in his pants were any indication, not just spanking this little girl / country hard, but enjoying spanking it. As he said, it's going to hurt you a lot more than it will me. No violent, sadistic, borderline pedophilia-like misogyny there. And of course, those who will be spanked will be anyone Trump, the father of the country, decides is the enemy within. And if Dad so desires, he will deploy the American military to administer said spanking. And you know, I don't often use profanity on the air, but seeing as the orange infestation opened the door to it, I gotta say, this is some seriously effed up, sick shit. The only question that remains is, will father of the country use a magazine with a photo on his cover like he made Stormy Daniels do when he spanks those he deems deserving? What we just witnessed was both sick and sickening, not to mention twisted and disturbing, and can only be enjoyed by equally sick, twisted, and disturbed individuals. And I'll ask you, when you do go to vote, just know that Donald Trump is not your daddy, nor this country's. He's even worse than the demented grandfather you keep locked in the basement at Thanksgiving, because you know if you let him out and let him sit at the dinner table, he's going to start molesting and fondling your cousin Mary, and maybe even Robert. And you know the irony of all this? Emails and texts that were released during Dominion Voting Machine's lawsuit against Fox, they revealed that mother Tucker Carlson literally hates Donald Trump, despises him with a passion. But like so many other power-hungry cowards, best to stay on the dictator wannabe's good side, just in case he should win in less than 2 weeks. And for that, whatever in the holy hell it was we just witnessed, that Mother Tucker Carlson is the Doug Basham Show's dumbass of the day.
You're a dumbass. You're a
You dumbass.
We also learned that while Trump was here yesterday, he will return to Las Vegas next Thursday, October the 31st, which just so happens to be Halloween. Therefore, I feel obligated, compelled even, to remind you of exactly what Donald Trump and pumpkins have in common. They're both orange, hollow on the inside, stupid and cowardly as they both had their brains and guts scooped out, and should be thrown in the garbage in early November. And by the way, you know what's black and white and orange and waddles? A penguin with a pumpkin. And did you hear what the pumpkin said to the pie baker? Use apples. And by the way, Alex, do you know what J.D. Vance and his hillbilly relatives do on Halloween? They pumpkin. And I'd like you to hear what Jen Easterly had to say yesterday on CBS News. Easterly is an American intelligence officer and former military official who was serving as the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency in the Biden administration. She's the gal who is in charge of making sure our elections are fraud-free. And I found what she said somewhat hopeful.
I will tell you, as the lead federal government agency for election infrastructure security, I've traveled the country meeting with election officials of both parties. And they work tirelessly every day to ensure that every one of their citizens' votes are counted as cast. It's why I have such confidence and why I can say election infrastructure has never been more secure.
And the reason I said I found that somewhat hopeful is that anybody who belongs to Trump's brain-dead MAGA cult base simply won't believe it. You know, because a drug addict who sells pillows says there's fraud. Jimmy, I got proof there was fraud. I got all the proof you need. The court just won't listen to me, but I have all the proof, Jimmy. And let's be real. Who doesn't believe that if Trump loses this election, he and his state-run propaganda media, his useless acolytes in the Congress, and of course his brain-dead base, won't cry election fraud from every rooftop in the country? And quick story, I just so happened, God's truth, to be sitting on a MyPillow right now. I bought one back before reputable stores stopped selling it, and I didn't mind it, to be honest, until someone gifted me another pillow, which is now the only pillow I lay my head down on before I go to sleep each night. I'm also happy sitting on my pillow. Although I don't really know how much of an endorsement that is. My pillow, not good enough for your head, but just fine for your ass. I wouldn't recommend Mike Lindell use that for an advertisement. He's too busy collecting all the evidence he needs to prove voter fraud. Jimmy, I got all the evidence. But I absolutely love my new pillow, and if anyone were ever to steal it, I would not rest until I found you. And when you think about it, guys, our pillows are way luckier than we are. They get some head every night. And of course, you've heard the joke about the guy who dreamed he ate a giant marshmallow, woke up, half his pillow was gone. He was feeling a little down in the mouth. But I had a worse dream than that. I dreamed I won a hot dog eating contest. We learned that Kamala Harris plans to deliver a final stretch closing argument on Tuesday, October 29th. That's exactly 1 week before Election Day. It's also the day Steve Bannon gets released from prison. And Harris has made the strategic and I think brilliant decision to deliver that speech at the Ellipse, the exact same location where Trump instigated the violent and vicious attack on our Capitol. He attempted to interfere in our foundational transfer of power, tried to steal an election he lost, tried to nullify and erase the votes of 81 million people, and essentially tried to end the American experiment in democracy. Again, a brilliant decision by the Harris-Walz campaign. We've also learned that when Kamala Harris does a rally in Houston today, she will be joined by the Queen, the ever-lovely and multi-talented Beyonce. And here's a rather staggering statistic for you. Beyonce's last tour boosted the U.S. economy by $4.5 billion. $4.5 billion. And speaking of superstars endorsing Kamala Harris, I thought this post by Taylor Swift yesterday was cute. Now, for radio listeners, this is strictly a visual, but it's a real short clip. I'll tell you what it is. It shows Taylor Swift walking into a huge stadium whereby equipment is being set up for a concert she's obviously going to perform. And the camera starts shooting her from behind her. As it comes up on her from the side and moves around to the front, she is holding and petting a cat. Obviously a swipe at Just Dull Vance for his childish cat lady remarks. She then removes her sunglasses, looks up at the stadium, then at the camera with a look that just screams, "Yeah, I'm a childless cat lady, and me and my fellow cat ladies are going to cover you up and bury you in kitty litter on November 5th. It is as cheeky as it is cute." Again, that was just cute. And I apologize for the silence. That clip didn't come with any audio. When I recorded it and edited it last night, I made a mental note to go back and add some audio, like maybe some music that wouldn't get me kicked off Facebook. Apparently, I forgot to do so. My apologies. And you know, it seems like the number of four-star generals who are throwing their support behind the Harris-Walz ticket is growing exponentially. Here's four-star General Barry McCaffrey, who was awarded 3 Purple Heart medals for injuries sustained during his service in the Vietnam War, 2 Silver Stars, and 2 Distinguished Service Crosses, the second highest United States Army award for valor. Here's General McCaffrey from yesterday.
General McCaffrey, what does it mean to either a person serving right now or a parent with someone serving to understand and really internalize what Kelly is saying, that the commander-in-chief, should Trump prevail, is a fascist?
Well, look, first of all, I think the armed forces will and will remain an apolitical organization. At the highest ranks, at the 4-star serving ranks, people do not express in private nor public a political preference. They're going to try and remain steadfast and stay out of the election process. However, I think from a national security perspective, you watched all the former secretaries of defense denounce Trump and say he's unstable. He's incoherent. He's ignorant. He's volatile. A lot of these unprincipled Republican nationally known leaders are enabling a guy who will come into office that they'll have to listen to, that they'll have to take into account his incredible misjudgments. We're likely to come out of NATO. We're likely to turn the Ukrainians over to the Russian criminal invasion. It's hard to understand what Trump will do or not do. So I think the biggest thing in my mind is not the political tenor inside the armed forces. nor the Trump voters. It's the political leaders on the right who are enabling this guy to take office, which will be, I think, a disaster for national security and the country.
War hero General Barry McCaffrey. And you know, there's another four-star general who has endorsed Kamala Harris that we haven't heard as much about as Generals Milley and Kelly. And that is highly decorated General Stanley McChrystal, who has also endorsed Harris. In his endorsement, he said the following, quote, "Harris has the strength, the temperament, and importantly, the values to serve as commander-in-chief. I have cast my vote for character." And what's notable about this is that high-ranking military officials, even former ones, seldom make public endorsements. Stanley McChrystal has done it in the last two presidential elections, and neither one were for the orange traitor and draft dodger. So, Trumpers can now add Stanley McChrystal's name to the list of thousands already on their list that just don't like poor Donald Trump, without ever asking themselves the question, why so many generals and people who work closely with their orange messiah, why they all say he is manifestly unfit for any office, let alone the highest in the land. All of those thousands of anti-Trumpers on their list are all wrong, and only Donald Trump is right. Because that's what cult members do. It's pathetic. General McChrystal has done some interviews since he endorsed Ms. Harris. I thought we could listen to some of what he said, and I thought this first clip was interesting. McChrystal is asked whether or not Trump is fit to serve as president. While it is painfully obvious that's exactly how he feels, ever the gentleman and former general, he's very reluctant to come right out and say it, even when pressed by the interviewer. But listen to how he says Trump is unfit and has no character without actually saying it. He's very measured in his choice of words, but still effective.
So many former military officials, top leaders who have served, men and women in uniform, have come out against former President Donald Trump. There are those, of course, like former retired General Keith Kellogg, who do support former President Trump, but high-profile people like yourself have raised concerns. I think about General Milley. I think about General Milley had concerns in the final days of Trump's presidency about how he was handling his work, and you have concerns. You've endorsed Vice President Harris. It comes down to one core question here. General McChrystal, do you believe former President Donald Trump is fit for office?
I believe that Vice President Harris is fit to lead the country in the presidency.
Well, let's go right to the question of Trump. Is he fit for office or not? You're a former top leader of the United States military. You're supporting a presidential candidate. You have a former president now running for the presidency again. You seem to have core character questions. Is he fit for office or not?
Okay, Bob, let's be honest. Why would a retired military officer come on to endorse his opponent?
You tell me.
Because I think character is very important. And so I'm voting for character. I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
Skillfully worded General McChrystal. Now, in this next clip, he's asked if Trump is a liar. Again, he's reluctant to use that exact word, but calls him a liar in another way. But then, get this, when he's asked if Trump is immoral, he has no problem answering that one directly.
If you were asked to join the Trump administration, what would you say?
I'd say no. I think it's important for me to work for people who I think are basically honest, who tell the truth as best they know it.
You think he's a liar?
I don't think he tells the truth.
Is Trump immoral in your view?
I think he is.
What would you say to those Americans then, and there are a lot of them, who support Donald Trump, who say, I like what he's doing, he's shaking things up, I don't care about this other stuff?
Yeah, I would say everyone has to make their own judgment. I can't tell any supporter of one politician or another that they are wrong. But what I would ask every American to do is, again, stand in front of that mirror and say, what are we about? Am I really willing to throw away or ignore some of the things that people do that are are pretty unacceptable normally just because they accomplish certain other things that we might like.
And you know, maybe it's just me, but isn't that a dumb question for an interviewer to ask? Do you think Trump is a liar? I mean, isn't that akin to asking someone, do you think the sun rises in the east? Do you think water is wet? I mean, facts are not subjective. So why ask a question that suggests they are? Again, maybe I'm nitpicking here, but in college, I majored in nitpicking. And in this final clip, General McChrystal gives his main reasons for endorsing Kamala Harris.
You endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris this week. You endorsed President Biden in 2020. In your op-ed in the New York Times, you talk about character. What is it about her character versus former President Trump that so convinced you to take this public stand and endorse her?
I think character is what a person does when they're under pressure. It is a combination of their deep-seated beliefs, the things, their core values, and the discipline they have to execute those, to live up to them. So I think when we look at Kamala Harris, we look at her history. She came up as a prosecutor, an attorney general, into the Senate. She has lived a number of experiences that I think build in someone the kind of character that's going to be necessary in the presidency. But let's be sure, we don't elect a president based on policies. We shouldn't. We should elect them for the character because we don't know what's going to come up. We didn't know that one-term Congressman Abraham Lincoln was going to be able to lead the United States through the Civil War. We never knew that the clothing salesman, Harry Truman, was going to be able to make the decision to drop the atomic bomb or to deal with the crisis in Korea. Those things come into a presidency in a way that tests the mettle and the character of the person in that office.
The presidency certainly tests, and it can forge leadership over time. But what convinces you now, ahead of a possible presidency, that she's ready, especially on national security and foreign policy, areas you know well?
Yeah, what do we know about anyone before they get a job like that? Young President Kennedy, when he was elected, was a young senator. He did pretty well. He struggled first through the Bay of Pigs and then did pretty well in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Donald Trump had no background in it. What we've seen from Kamala Harris convinces me she has the strength, she has the values to deal with the uncertain crises that are inevitable.
Retired four-star General Stanley McChrystal. And you know how Trump always likes to talk about people and say, now that's a man. General McChrystal is a genuine man and a genuine gentleman. Tim Miller, writer-at-large at The Bulwark, asked what I thought was a poignant question yesterday that just draws on good old-fashioned common sense and yet is completely absent inside Trump world.
Look, my short takeaway from this again is I just think look, if you believe that Trump might be a fascist or might be Hitler, you're either already voting against him or you're one of the people we don't want to talk about that's voting for him, right? So think about everybody else you're trying to get to. And I just think simple, practical language. He wanted to shoot protesters. His generals had to stop him. Next time he's saying he's not going to do it, he'll shoot peaceful protesters, right? I'm working on an article to Nikki Haley voters for The Bulwark tomorrow that just says to them simply, not never Trumpers, the people who are very conservative, John Kelly, Mike Pence, who were in the room with him, who saw him behind the scenes, they think he's too dangerous to put him back in there. Why? How could you think you know more about Trump's judgment than they do? You know, like very kind of simple language, and I'm hoping that it can be important in nudging, 0.5%, 1% in the vice president's direction in the last few weeks.
And again, that is just common sense. How can the average Trumper think they know more than the people who were in the room with Trump, who say he is unfit to return to office? How? And I suppose my quick response would be because the right-wing propaganda hate media has brainwashed them into believing that while they still claim to support the troops, when high-ranking military officials decline to bend the knee to their dear orange cult leader, they deserve to be trashed as hard as anybody else. I mean, the brain-dead mega cult bases psyches are just not deep enough to fathom how stupid they are. You think they're sharp enough to figure out what hypocrites they are? Not likely. Kamala Harris has received some other potentially powerful endorsements of late, in the swing state of Wisconsin in particular. Chris Hayes broke this story last night. I'm only too happy to let him re-break it right here, right now.
In the battleground state of Wisconsin, two prominent elected officials just endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for president. One of them is the mayor of Waukesha.
It's a Republican city in Wisconsin's largest Republican county.
It's difficult. I mean, the easy thing to do is to just not say anything.
Waukesha Mayor Sean Riley grew up Republican and voted that way for most of his adult life.
I also feel just in my heart that this is something that I need to come out and say. I am going to be voting for Vice President Harris to become our next president.
Now, that guy used to be a Republican, but he also announced he's now an independent. And to give you some context about the significance of that endorsement, Waukesha is a city about 20 miles west of Milwaukee. It is the third largest county in Wisconsin, which Donald Trump won by over 20 points in 2020. Also endorsing Harris today, a prominent Republican state senator from Green Bay, Rob Cowles, who's currently the longest-serving member of the Wisconsin State Senate, said endorsing Harris ranks up there with the most important things he has ever done.
I really think this is the most important, one of the most important things I've done. Trump has to be defeated, and we have to protect the Constitution, and the country will go on.
It is astounding, is it not? Every single day, Kamala Harris receives more high-profile endorsements, many of them from Republicans. And yet Trump, when's the last time we heard of him receiving any high-profile endorsement from even a Republican, let alone a Democrat? And yet, this election is close. What's that? Oh, I'm being handed a piece of paper here with all of Trump's latest endorsements. None. 221-7283 is our call-in number here at the station, folks. If you would like to chat, that's 702-221-SAVE, or SAVE, as in Save Our Democracy. To the phones we head, and we'll start with Dorothy. You are first. Thank you for calling. I see Dorothy is ready for Halloween already. Hi, Dorothy.
Hi.
Hi. If you're listening on Dorothy, if you're listening online, you got to turn the volume down because there's the delay between what you're hearing and what's actually going out on the air.
I have a question. Anyone here, Trump, say that if he ever becomes president, he will run as a Republican because Republicans are all stupid?
Yes, Dorothy, I have seen that meme online. I can't tell you, countless times. The bottom line is it's not true. He never said that. That meme is made up and it's false. Now, it's right and it's applicable and it's appropriate, but the truth is Trump never actually said it. He just did it. He just did it. He repeated to Dorothy.
Yeah, he repeatedly do it.
Yeah. I mean,
well, there are a lot of stupid people out there.
Yeah, even though that meme is false, everything in it came to pass anyway. So it's like, does it really matter if he said it? It happened. It happened.
Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Dorothy. Where are you at? Are you here in Las Vegas? he asked with no response. Anyhow, I appreciate you calling, Dorothy. 221-7283 is our call-in number here at the station, folks. If you would like to chat, hopefully with not the echo Dorothy had, that's 702-221-SAVE. Back to the phones, and we will talk to our most excellent contributor, Forrest. You're next. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Doug. As usual, great show. I've been in St. Louis for 4 days back and just looking at everything that's happening in Las Vegas. I think that you should put out the site that shows Pennsylvania. That Pennsylvania records their votes every day, and they record whether it's Democrat or Republican. And mathematically, right now, it's impossible for Trump to take Pennsylvania. The lead is just too great for Kamala. And I think that site, and I'll send it to you one more time. I think I might have sent it to you, but I'll send it to you one where you can click on it, and it'll give you the daily totals in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania is by far the most important state. And anyway, I have one tiny complaint about Kamala, and she's probably right and I'm probably wrong, but I have a lot of friends inside her campaign, and she knows she's going to take every swing state. She knows that, including Arizona and Nevada. And each time she's asked about the race, she says we're behind, and her advisors are telling her, keep saying that because we get out more votes by saying that. But it makes me a little uncomfortable when she knows she's going to take every state, and she knows by how much, and every swing state. And so, anyway, great show, and you're just really providing a service to an awful lot of people with your show, and I'll let you go.
Hey, thank you, Forrest. I appreciate your kind words. Glad you made it back from St. Louis. 221-7283 is our call-in number here at the station, folks. 702 area code 221-SAVE. Forrest said something. I should have made a note that I wanted to comment. He had a slight complaint about Harris. I had one last night, and it's a minor one, but I didn't make a note of it. And then with everything else that's going on, when you look at what's happening, it just escapes my mind. I'll try to think of it as we go to our next phone call. Carl, you are next. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, Doug. Hi. Listen, one quick point first before I give you my Halloween fun. The commercials I see, where they say that Harris, they show her saying they're giving away Medicare and Social Security to aliens. You see that all the time from a Trump commercial, which is ridiculous because nobody can collect Social Security unless they pay into it and they're working. So obviously, they just don't give Social Security to people who aren't working and paying into it. That's a lie right there.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
And
but Carl, we're let's put it this way: we're shocked at the brazen dishonesty of these people, but we're not surprised. It embodies everything they are. I mean, if you had to pick one word to describe Donald Trump and the whole MAGA movement and all the acolytes, lemmings, minions, and bootlickers behind him, that word would be dishonesty. That's who they are.
Of course. Now I'm going to give you my real quick for Halloween coming up.
I'm ready with my snare drum and cymbal.
Here you go. I went into a store and I looked at some of the Halloween masks, and they were all pretty frightening. But I saw one that just scared the hell out of me. They're selling masks of Donald Trump, so for Halloween to wear. So that scared the hell out of me. And my final point for Halloween is
hold it, Carl, hold it. Was that the punchline?
What? That they scared the hell out of me? No.
the Trump mask is the scariest. That was the punchline.
It's the scariest, right? Right.
I gotta get you a new joke book. Nonetheless,
Okay. Here's the last one. This is a a little riddle. See how smart you are.
Okay.
What does October 31st and an empty hot dog have in common?
An empty hot dog?
And October 31st, what do they have in common?
I have no idea.
It's a Halloweenie.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
Ba-doom-tsh. I'm sorry to tell you, folks, Carl will not be here all week. We have just canceled his contract effective today immediately. Hey, Carl, I appreciate you calling in.
Hey.
Take care.
Take care.
221-7283 is the caller number here at the station, folks. If you'd like to talk on the radio, that's 702-221-SAVE. Before we go any further, I have something I absolutely must do. I thought this was just marvelous, brilliant, spectacular, superb. Attach whatever adjective you see fit. Earlier this week, we heard Law & Order's Mariska Hargitay's endorsement of Kamala Harris. The Harris-Walz team also received what I would consider another precious endorsement around the same time, that of the boss, Bruce Springsteen. Now, as a longtime multi-super fan of Bruce Springsteen, I will admit my bias in this case. But I got to tell you, folks, watching on social media, I'm kind of pleased with how I put this clip together. Watch it till the end, you'll see what I mean. But most importantly, listen to the different, distinct points the boss makes. In my seldom humble opinion, he nails the most important issues in this election. I was also impressed with the humility with which he began his endorsement. And as you listen to this more than compelling endorsement, you will see that the boss isn't just a guitarist. He's not just a singer. He's not just a songwriter. He is one superbly informed American citizen and one who obviously pays close attention to the political issues of our times and knows full well the reality of them, unlike the dregs of society who bury themselves inside the right-wing propaganda hate media bubble and echo chamber and don't have a friggin' clue in holy Hades who and what Donald Trump truly is. Here is the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
Hi, I'm Bruce Springsteen. Friends, fans, and the press have asked me who I'm supporting in this most important of elections. And with full knowledge that my opinions no more or less important than those of any of my fellow citizens, here's my answer. I'm supporting Kamala Harris for president and Tim Walz for vice president, and opposing Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Here's why. We are shortly coming upon one of the most consequential elections in our nation's history. Perhaps not since the Civil War has this great country felt as politically, spiritually, and emotionally divided as it does then at this moment. It doesn't have to be this way. The common values, the shared stories that make us a great and united nation are waiting to be rediscovered and retold once again. Now that will take time, hard work, intelligence, faith, and women and men with the national good guiding their hearts. America is the most powerful nation on earth, not just because of her overwhelming military strength or economic power, but because of what she stands for, what she means, what she believes in. Freedom, social justice, equal opportunity, the right to be and love who you want. These are the things that make America great. Donald Trump is the most dangerous candidate for president in my lifetime. His disdain for the sanctity of our Constitution, the sanctity of democracy, the sanctity of the rule of law, and the sanctity of the peaceful transfer of power should disqualify him from the office of president ever again. He doesn't understand the meaning of this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American. On the other hand, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are committed to a vision of this country that respects and includes everyone, regardless of class, religion, race, your political point of view, or sexual identity. And they want to grow our economy in a way that benefits all, not just the few like me on top. That's the vision of America I've been consistently writing about.
Yep, as he has been doing for decades now, the boss hit every note pitch perfect. And that was actually a longer bit I put together. But number one, the site that allows us to broadcast this show on social media, they have a time restriction, time/size restriction as to the size of the clips you can load into their site. So number one, it was too long. And number two, I had a pretty good notion that if I let it go the way I originally put it together, you'd get one of those big black screens on YouTube saying I was violating policy. So I kept it to 2 short bars. Hopefully that'll squeak by. I don't know if there's a big black bar up there now or if they'll just look at it later and say, you know what? Let's delete this sucker from his page. They've been doing that a lot lately. And yet, 2 days ago, Facebook, who never does it, they deleted one of my shows. They didn't tell me why. They said, this show was blocked. Only you can see it. What does that mean? I don't need to see it. I did it. I was there. But then again, when YouTube puts the screen up, they don't really tell you why, but they do send you an email later saying, you did this, you played this. And as I said yesterday, the one that really bothers me is when they yanked the show and they deleted it because I played Barack Obama's introduction in Detroit that was done by Eminem. And when Obama walked out onto the stage, they played a bit of one of Eminem's songs. And that got the whole show deleted. I mean, why not just delete the little bit of music or put the black screen up for what, 15, 20 seconds was all it took, and then just let it go? No, delete the whole thing. Discretion apparently is not part of their operating procedures. I don't know. Hey, folks, I got to run. It's been a wonderful week. I've enjoyed having you all here for the most part. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you calling. We will do this all over again on Monday, hopefully with you. Until then, take care. Thank y'all.
Did you know the cost to American taxpayers of each illegal immigrant